Hello, everyone. We are here today to talk about logistics and supply chain and everything connected to that. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Nadia Zaganeva. I have a bachelor degree in science in nuclear physics, so not really connected to logistics, but I've been working in logistics for over 20 years now. I worked in small companies, 20 and less people, and large companies, over 100,000 people. Currently, I am a senior customer logistics analyst on the Walmart team at Procter & Gamble. I know it's a mouthful. What it basically means that I work in logistics field and I work with anything related to our customers. Learn that customers and consumers are two terms that are being used fairly often, and they're not the same. Consumers are the people who actually use the product, so that would be every one of us. And customers who we deal directly with. For example, I work on the Walmart team, so my customer would be Walmart. First of all, let me tell you about P&G. P&G is the largest consumer packaged good companies, also called CPG. And if it's not the oldest CPG company, it's probably one of the oldest. It was founded 183 years ago. What is CPG? Well, that means that we produce and sell the products that can be found in any home. Used products from the moment you wake up, brush your teeth in the morning, take a shower, shave, put your makeup on, clean up spilled milk at breakfast, wash dishes, clothes, clean your house. Well, you get the point. A company of the size of P&G has to be a very well-oiled machine, and it has a quite complex supply chain. But what is supply chain? Supply chain, oversimplifying, it's a system how to get from raw materials. This would be, for example, utilities, to the final product, toilet paper, in the bathroom, and everything in between. Logistics is an art and science of obtaining, producing, distributing materials and products to proper place at proper quantities. It includes different areas. First one is procurement, which is getting what you need from suppliers to produce what you need to produce. The actual production or manufacturing. Transportation, that's where you move your goods between different points. Warehousing, which is storing the goods in between the moves. Distribution to customers, that would be the stores. And distribution to consumers, us. And there's also one special area which is called reverse logistics. That's when you would go to the store and return something because you didn't like it, or because it didn't work, or for whatever other reasons. What are the main goals of logistics? There are 7 rights of logistics, or sometimes they call 7 R's of logistics. It's to deliver the right product in the right quantity, in the right condition, to the right place, at the right time, for the right customers, and at the right price. Well, let's look at each one of those R's in a little bit more details. Right product and right quantity. For example, during COVID-19 pandemic, when it started, people were buying more cleaning product and trying to disinfect everything. At the same time, people shave less, they don't put as much makeup on, so sales took a dive. To maximize sales, especially in the situations with limited resources, for example, number of trucks that you can use, logistics managers and analysts must decide what to prioritize. What are we going to ship to stores? Right condition. If your product was damaged by the time when it got to where it needs to be, it's useless, right? Logistics specialists must decide how much product will be loaded together. In this particular picture, as you can see, there was too much product loaded on top of the pallets, and the pallet below was crushed. At the same time, loading too little can be equally bad. When half-empty trailer is loaded, product inside will shift and move and get damaged as well. With the start of the winter, product might freeze, for example. So it might be beneficial to put a heater inside the trailer, but what happens, heaters take space. So that means that you can load less product. And it also increases your cost because you have to heat, spend on energy, and so on. So it's important to find a balance at the start using. When do you want to use the heaters? When do you want to stop using them? How much heat you need, and so on. So that would be different concerns in the right condition area. Right place and right customer. Delivering kosher products, for example, to a store which has primarily Chinese population probably will not really increase your sales. At the same time, if you are delivering, if you're increasing the shelf space, which means that you have more product on the shelf of specific area, for example, hair product for curly hair in the primarily Black community, would probably be beneficial to your sales. I must mention that deciding on the shelf space, what you put on the shelf, how much, at which level do you put it. Eye level usually considered primarily space, and something that goes at the bottom, one might think that it's a sale zone, but it's a primary space for kids. So they usually put candy at that eye level. So deciding what goes where is not part of logistics. It's an art on its own, and there are different rules and ideas there. I'm not going to get into that. Marketing probably would be better help with that. But if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. Now, right time. Right time, if you, for example, deliver Halloween candy and it gets to the store on November 1st, well, probably it's not going to sell that too well. So right time is equally important. Next one is right place. This is probably the trickiest one of all. Let's be honest. Companies like P&G are in the business to make money. So reducing cost of production and delivery of the product is our primary goal. Every time product is being touched, it costs money. Ship a truck from a plant to a warehouse, you will have to pay carrier. Offload it into the warehouse, you will have to pay lumpers and others. Store it until someone orders it, you are paying rental fees for the warehouse space. Then you will have to load it again, either on the truck. You will have to pay again for the work, ship to the customer, warehousing. Then in stores you do the same. Store will keep it in the back room before it gets to the floor. Well, you understand where I'm going with this. Every time you touch it, it costs you money. That's why, for example, Amazon is looking into parcel deliveries by drones, because no people involved, less cost. And robots nowadays are actually checking shelves to find out of stock if something is missing on the shelf, and if it's not there, no one can buy it. And they're also looking at delivering from the plant directly to your home, avoiding stores altogether. Amazon is close to that, but they're not there yet. They still have their warehouse, so there is a middleman in between. But if you can reduce all those touches, you can reduce the cost. And that would usually, it goes both ways. It makes more money to the company selling the product, but it also reduces the cost to you, so it will cost you less to buy the product. All that is the theory, but I think it's easy if we look at the example, at the live example. Hopefully everyone likes chips. Let's see. For example, a store sells 100 bucks of chips every day. How much inventory, and inventory is one of the terms, that means how much product you keep. How much inventory do you think they need to have at the store? And if you need to unmute, there is a little microphone beside your name, so hopefully we can make it a little bit interactive. Nina, Tanya, any ideas?
Так, я смогла наконец анмьютиться. Витя, у тебя был ответ?
Yes, we can hear you.
$100 or maybe
Nina, we can hear you very well.
700.
700? Why is that?
So that they could cut down gas and fuel for the trucks.
Well, actually, the answer to that question depends. It depends on a number of factors. First one, do you really sell, if you sell 100 bags on average, do you really sell 100 every day? Usually that's not the case. People tend to buy more as we go towards the weekend, especially with the chips and people are watching TV. So your sales on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday would be much higher. That's one of the factors. The other one that you mentioned is, well, how often do you actually get your replenishment? You might be getting your chips every day, or you might be getting it only once a week. And that would change how you approach it. And which day of the week are you getting it? Wouldn't it be nice if you have just 50 cases on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then you have a truck arrive and delivering more chips before the weekend, so you have enough to sell through? So these are the different factors that you normally will look at. And when you look at the inventory cycle, you get your deliveries, so those would be your peaks. As you can see here, that's when the truck arrived and delivered additional chips in our case. But then you start selling it through and it goes down. The more often you have your deliveries, the less inventory you need to carry out. Notice this green line over here called safety inventory. It's also called safety stock. This is the minimum level of inventory we need to carry at any given time. How's it determined? If we go back a little bit, remember the companies are trying to maximize their sales by making money. And yes, we try to find a balance between buying too much and carrying too little inventory, because if you carry too little and product is not on the shelf, you're not going to sell. But at the same time, if you buy too much, it costs you money, right? You have to pay for the product you buy. Most of the companies would either freeze their cash, meaning that they use their own money, which could have been used elsewhere, or they will borrow money from the banks and then they will have to pay interest. So it costs money to buy something and to put it into the inventory. So logistics, one of the key roles of logistics is to minimize the inventory, to have as little as possible, but at the same time, have it there at the time when you need to sell it. So if you deliver more often, it's easier to replenish it. Now, if we look back at the graph that we had in the previous slide, this is just 1 week. That doesn't mean that every single week it will sell the same. In a week prior to Super Bowl, for example, you will probably sell way more chips. So safety stock is determined by how fast you can react. Once you see that spike of sales, how long does it take you to bring additional inventory into the store? It's determined by, first of all, how far are you from your source, and we'll talk about that in a bit. How much do you need to order? And again, we'll talk about that into details. So safety stock is determined by how long it takes you to react. And any inventory is actually measured not in cases, not in bags or anything like that. It's usually measured in days. So if it takes you 3 days to order more product and get it into the stores, then your safety stock should be at least 3 days worth of your inventory, if that makes sense. Any questions so far? I know it might be a bit complex topic.
So we're talking about chips now, and what about the perishables?
That's another factor. Well, with perishables, because they have life cycle, shelf life, as we call it, much less than, for example, I don't know, chips. Their supply chain seems to be much shorter. They need to be closer to the stores where they deliver. P&G mostly delivers goods that can be stored for months, right? So we have only one warehouse in Canada, which is located here close to Toronto. But perishable goods companies, they would have multiple warehouses that are connected, located very close to the stores. Probably each major city will have one. So that's where we need to shorten our logistical span and have them delivered much faster than normally. In this case, your safety stock would be much smaller because you are reacting much quicker. Answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay. Another factor is truck sizing. If you're far from the source, you probably don't want to send little parcels every time, every 5 minutes. The more packages you send, the more money it costs you. Typically, you want to take the biggest available container and fill it up as much as possible. For example, if you're shipping overseas, and I literally mean over the ocean, you want to use containers. Over the North America, it would be either tractor trailers, these are the trucks that you usually see on the highways, or the railroad containers. If you have to share a container with someone else, if you're a small business, you will have to pay extra for the coordination, who gets what delivered to one address and to the other. That's what usually happens with mail, for example. But if you load a full truck of just your product and it goes directly to the store, there is less work to be done, so it's much easier and it costs you less money. That being said, some products will sell fast, say, for example, the toilet paper. Some take very little space. For example, toothbrushes, they're small and you don't change it every day. So 1 day worth of inventory of toilet paper is not the same as 1 day of toothbrushes. What you want to do in logistics is to ship as much product as it makes sense. So in the picture that you see right now, the big cubes would be pallets. Pallets are really great because you can use a forklift to load it, where if you look at the little boxes in the screen, those are, would be your toothbrushes. And when you pick the toothbrushes, meaning that you load them in the truck, you have to touch every box, every case by hand, which obviously takes, first of all, more time, and you have to use more manpower to do that. So shipping by pallets usually costs you less than shipping case pick. So what you want to do, you want to find a balance between how many days of inventory you are shipping, but at the same time, can it be as big as possible so you don't touch it as many times as you would do otherwise. This is usually a concern for smaller customers, smaller businesses where they ship little cases. But there is also the other side of the problem when you have large-scale events. The picture is actually taken from one of our plants that produce toilet paper. And this is the lineup just to get to the plant. Not to load it, we didn't even get that far. Imagine all those trucks sitting on the road and they're not moving anything else. that means you get shortage in other areas. I worked on the events that involved more than 1,000 trucks being delivered and sold at the store within just 1 week. Well, if you think about it, 1,000 trucks, you have to have drivers to drive those trucks. You have to have actual trucks while they are moving everything else for anyone else. So it's a problem to find them, especially in Canada. In the events that we had, we actually had to hire people from US and bring them and pay premium for that. But even if you have 1,000 trucks, if you have drivers to move them, you cannot bring 10 trucks at a time to the store. They simply cannot offload it. They will not have the space to put it on the floor. So there are a lot of coordination to be done in this area. And that's also one of the examples of logistical analytics that should be done. How do you manage it? Where do you source it? How do you produce it? Because we have to bring it from the plant, which is usually, especially in Canada, has to be from a different country. You have to put it on the floor. You might not have that much warehousing space. So you have to coordinate how to move it quickly, at what time do you deliver to the store. So at one hand, they have enough time to offload it, but at the same time, there is no congestion because there's too much product. Because if the product is not in the store, no one is buying it. There is no point of having that much inventory in the back room if no one sees it. So large-scale events is another challenge, which is equally problematic as small-scale events and customers and who are ordering just too little. The things that I mentioned so far, the different factors that you look at, this is something you would typically learn if you take a logistics course. But for big companies such as a P&G, you would not typically do it by hand. There is a software to do that because we're talking about thousands and thousands of products. So as you decide if you want to go into logistics or not, that's one of the factors you might consider. Yes, it's certainly useful to know the supply chain fundamentals that you will learn in the logistical course. But what you will be learning is just how to calculate those things, like safety stocks, optimal inventory levels, how to move it, and so on. It has been done by someone else before. There were people who took the courses and with additional knowledge, they developed the software that is now available. We live in such fast changing environment. By the time you learn latest innovation, and they already become obsolete. For example, most of the P&G product supply people, for one reason or another, do not have degree in logistics. They have degrees in other fields like chemistry, engineering, robotics, and so on. There are at least two good reasons for that. First, technical and scientific fields not only teach you formulas and definitions, more importantly, you learn specific approach to problems, especially when you don't know what are you looking for. It's a mindset, and it can only be acquired with experience. The second reason, the biggest innovations nowadays happen when you mix things that were unthinkable to mix before. For example, mix robotics and logistics, and you will get drones that are delivering your packages or robots on the streets. Who knows what will come next? Skills that are most important in my role today, it's big data analytics, and big data requires skills to shape it. 10 years ago, to know Excel and Word was expected of everyone. Now it's different programs such as Power BI, Tableau, Nime, and maybe many other software. For example, knowing Java used to be dedicated to programmers, but nowadays I use it every day, even though it's not my primary field. So as you choose your profession, I encourage you to think a little bit farther and see how you can mix different things, learn about them, and bring something new here. That's, I think, everything I had to present. So if anyone has any questions, I would love to answer it.
Thank you so much. That's so interesting. I have a question about local designation. So I know there is SCM designation, supply chain management.
Mm-hmm.
This is local Canadian. Do you know
Mm-hmm.
any other designations, and how important to have this designation just to jump into the field?
As I said, I don't have it. And I've been quite successful, not just in Canada, but in other countries as well, working in the field. It really depends on your goals. What are you interested in? If you just get the SEM designation or anything else in logistics, like, for example, procurement would be another one, or warehousing, and so on. If you get a designation, you will be narrowed to this field. And the starting position would be very basic, I would say. I would encourage someone to mix and match and maybe spend a little bit more time in school. But by doing that, by getting the university degree, not just college degree, you're setting up yourself for the better start. For example, in Procter & Gamble, we do not hire anyone out of college, only university degree. But if you go into the university degree, you will have to do different fields. So it's not just supply chain management, for example.
Do you mean bachelor degree, or is it supposed to be master's?
Bachelor degree is enough, but it has to be university degree. Also, if the logistics is one of the interesting fields, I would say anything that has to do with statistics, and as I mentioned, data analytics will help you cover more fields, because that will give you a chance to go to logistics as well as some of the IT areas. Big data is a big thing right now. So any fields that involve statistics will help you multiply your chances for future employment.
That's what I heard about data analytics. So this is just occupation of the future.
Absolutely. I wouldn't say it's the occupation of the future. It's occupation of the present day. It's probably the fast growing, and it's definitely the biggest field right now. So I don't know what comes in 5 years by the time kids finish school, but nowadays it is a very big thing. This is what I do on my daily basis. I work with big data. I slash and dash data pretty much, even thought I'm technically in logistics.
And can you please repeat the name of those software which you use?
Power BI, which is by Microsoft. Tableau, it's the data visualization tool that helps you. The graphs are in the past, right? We still use graph, but when you have a lot of different factors, just a graph is not enough, and Tableau helps with that. Next one I mentioned was KNIME. KNIME is your programming tool where it's very useful for Excel, for example, where you have to do different manipulations with your files, like here is what you sell, but how do you slice and dice it to see by week, by month, how many out of stocks you had, and so on. So when you have to move and add formulas in Excel, move columns and so on, KNIME can automate it for you. So something that took you 3 hours to prepare a report before will now take you 3 minutes, for example. So those are the primary fields.
Sorry.
I'm sorry?
So what about old good Excel?
It's still used, but it's very slow. If you're gonna just use Excel, I still use Excel in my work, but I don't do anything in Excel. I have KNIME prepare the data for me. So if before, at the end of a year, you will prepare a report saying, here's how much we sold, here's how many trucks we moved. So what you will do, you will download information, which would be a list of the products you sold, a list of the trucks you shipped, the dates, and so on. And then you will split them into weeks. Then you will split them into months. Then you will massage it and make it pretty and build a nice graph. And it will take you, I don't know, 2 days to do that. No one does that anymore. You do it once, you teach the computer to do it for you, and next year or next month, whatever your reporting period is, it does it for you. So
sounds like you guys age ahead of us. I work in oil and gas here in Alberta, and Excel is still one of the requirements when they hire people.
I would say Excel is no question. Everyone is supposed to know Excel. Without Excel, like it's not even a basic expectation. It's like you don't ask people when you hire them if they can read, right? So in my field, that would be the equivalent.
So that's why for me it sounds like you guys ages ahead of us here.
Take a look at Nime. It's a free software. You do not require a license to use it. It's pretty intuitive. There is a lot of trainings online. I think it will be very helpful if you use Excel.
Thank you.
It's called Nime with K first. It was developed in Germany, I believe. So Knime.
Yeah, I will check it out. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So it's supposed to be for kids, right? Not really.
Actually, I think kids will have more success with Nime, for example, than us, because their minds are flexible. It's much easier for them to learn. And as I said, Nime is very intuitive and it's drag and drop. You don't have, well, you can if you want to write a code in there, but most of the times it's visual. So it's very easy.
Thank you.
Welcome. If there are no other questions, then I'll probably will stop recording. Thank you very much for participating. It was a pleasure. I'm looking to figure it out. There we go. Спасибо, Нина, за вопросы.